It's a story I like to tell, and it's based on the Super Bowl. And I don't watch sports. Very few of them do, actually, am I entertained by. But I watch the Super Bowl because it's also the Super Bowl of the ad world, right? And
sure, to see the commercials.
Yeah, and I'm a marketing guy, so I love watching that kind of stuff. I find it fascinating. And I don't watch the Super Bowl itself, so I wait until YouTube plays all the compilation of all the ads, and I just watch that compilation video. It's like 20 minutes long. And there's a lot more ads than you'd think. And so I watched them all, and this last year, I watched them like I do every single year, and it's 20 minutes long, and I was shockingly disappointed as to how many of them were even memorable at all. I think out of the 20, I swear to God, only like 2 stuck out in my mind as being somewhat remotely interesting. And it got me thinking, I was like, wow, these guys have unlimited ad budgets, like tens of millions of dollars. They're hiring the best of the best Madison Avenue ad agencies that are stocked full of Ivy League grads, right? Best in the world, highest talent, well, there is. And that's the best that they could come up with, right? So now I'm thinking, well, what the hell chance do guys like you and I have coming up with better quality ads if this is the best that they can pull off? Right? Like zero, right? So why are we even competing? Like, why are we even bothering? Because what I'm finding is, I work with so many different industries, who come to me to want to build out a call center. And the complaints remarkably are really, really similar with people because I talk to them every day. And it's that they're just running into walls using their traditional forms of running of marketing. Nowadays, most people are just doing digital marketing. So there's not a whole lot of billboards and TV and radio going on. Everyone's doing the same stuff, whether it's, Facebook, YouTube, Google PPC, that kind of stuff. And they all remarkably have the same pitfalls, which is, just to name a few, ad fatigue, right? And if you don't know what that is, that just means that the audience is sick and tired of seeing your ad because they've seen it too many times, so they're no longer clicking on it. That's 100% happens to absolutely everybody. So the problem there is like, okay, even if you come up with the world's best ad, it's just a matter of time until that gets worn out too. Door knocking is really quite common, whether it's roofing, solar, companies like that, home improvement spaces. Door knocking is a very common form of lead generation. I realize that may not be for everybody who's watching this, but hear me out. Door knocking is a very powerful thing because you're catching people away from their computers, aka away from Mark Zuckerberg. Hi, Mark, if you're listening, please don't assassinate me. Sorry, Mark. But you're catching people away from your laptop, which is very important because you and I both know, right? Like anyone who's listening to this, the moment you think about something, Zuckerberg is already showing you an ad for it, right? Yeah. So the point is, like, if you're clicking on an ad online, let's say you're running an ad for XYZ widget, it doesn't matter. The moment you click on it, Zuckerberg's already hitting you, serving you up 1,000 other ads just like it. So now you're clicking on a bunch of other ads, and now you're getting multiple quotes, and now the odds of you getting the sale are very slim to none. So you were paying this high dollar for something that you thought was an exclusive lead, and now you're realizing it's very, very far from. So really the best one, if it applies to your industry, that's why there's still door knockers, believe it or not. A lot of companies don't even know that it still exists, but it's alive and well because it's catching people away from their laptops, right? So you're having this captive audience that's not being spoiled by these other competing ads. And the only other way to do that that's scalable, because you may not be out there knocking doors, and how are you going to find a team of people that can? That's a very difficult thing to scale. But what isn't, is cold calling people, right? Cold calling is just a digital version of door knocking. And that's where the call center becomes such a beautiful thing, because now you can replicate all the benefits of door knocking, but in a scalable way. Anywhere in the world. So, I have a really colorful background. I'll save you. I'll just fast forward. I've been in business since I was 22 years old was when I started my first business. I'm now 49. So the majority of my life has been as an entrepreneur. And I got into the home services space 7 or 8 years ago or whatever. My partner and I started an HVAC company. We did very well with that. For health reasons, we had to sell the business. Because of his health, we had to sell the business, and so we did well there. But during that experience, he was the proverbial wrench turner, and I was the proverbial white collar guy. And so he asked me, "Hey, Peter, can you build up the sales and marketing side of this business, and I'll handle all the blue collar side of it?" And I was like, "Sure." And so that's what I did. I knew nothing about HVAC at all. So I started that business, built up sales, marketing, the whole sales team, everything. We did all of it. Having known nothing. I didn't know anything about HVAC. I barely knew how to operate my own thermostat. That's how little I knew. And so I realized very quickly, like, there was a real lack of lead generation options in the HVAC space, especially really in home services, because it was sort of seen as kind of like blue collar. And so a lot of marketing companies just didn't take it very seriously. They didn't realize just how much money was floating through those industries.
Right.
And so there wasn't a ton of options, especially back then. There's a lot more now, but there weren't quite as many back then. And so I had to kind of like wing it. I had to learn really, really quickly. And so I just kind of was thrown into this and had to learn marketing, and quickly realized, I'm like, if I don't figure this out pretty fast, we're not going to grow. And so I had to learn all the stuff. I had to learn, Facebook, YouTube, Google, and, every other form of marketing as well. And it was through that experience that I slowly started recognizing what these problems were that I just told you and your audience about. And that's where I started getting exposure to these problems and realizing what the solution was. So that's how I ended up here. Yeah, it started with me not wanting to give away the secret sauce. It started with me, because I put in so much of my own blood, sweat, and tears into learning how to do the call center game, and lost a lot of money, as you could imagine. Like, I lost a lot of money, like probably close to $250,000. If my wife was listening to this, she'll be shaking her head. So hopefully she doesn't watch this podcast. But it was bad, and I'm not ashamed to admit it. But I think, like a lot of successful entrepreneurs, I think all of us just learn from our mistakes, right? Because we're too pig-headed to let go and admit fault at any point. I don't think it's because we're geniuses. I don't think it's because we're such strong-willed people. I think it's just we just refuse to admit that we were wrong, and so we just keep going until we figure the damn thing out for ourselves, right? So I don't think there's any genius involved. I think we're just all stubborn pricks, And so that's how I got to here. Is I just kept just hammering away at this process until I learned. There was no coaches, there was no consultants, there was no nothing. I just had to surround myself with slowly but surely I started meeting other call center operators that were in my same industry. And I would just ask a question here and a question there. And I mean, literally like once a month, like very slowly did I acquire the knowledge base. And that's why it took me years. And that's why it took me a lot of losses to get to where I am. And one day I had a friend of mine who owned a solar company here in Colorado. And he was the one that kind of pulled me inside, and he was like, "Hey, I know you're doing well in the call center space. Can I pay you to build one out for me?" And my initial gut response was no, because I didn't want to give away the secret sauce. And then I got to thinking, well, I'm actually not selling solar in my own home state, or my team wasn't at the time. So you know what? Screw it. Let's do it. And I kind of chose to do it because I kind of wanted to see like what would happen if I did do this and what would the process be like. And obviously it turned out to be great. And so now I've realized that, I have much more of an abundance type mindset as opposed to hoarding it for myself, and realized this was silly for me to hold on to it. And lo and behold, I've always been more of a marketer than I have really anything else. As much as I love operating all these other businesses and have had good luck with them, I really do enjoy the marketing side of things. I love watching other companies grow and thrive and flourish. Yeah, it doesn't look like anything. It's all virtual nowadays, right? So yes, I get it. A lot of people have this misconstrued notion that a call center is a sweatshop in the Philippines, right? And they exist for sure. India, Pakistan, they do exist. Those are not the kinds of call centers that I think work best. I can help you with that. We can do that too, but that's really not where I would advise most people to go. We do a much more of like a modern hybrid, more of a modern virtual, rather is what I meant to say, a modern virtual approach. So it's 100% virtual. You don't need to go rent some office space. There's nothing like that. All the agents are all working remotely from their homes, including the managers working remotely. We predominantly only hire out of Latin America. With a focus on Mexico, but it could be anywhere from Latin America, but 90% of the time Mexico. And I think this will be pretty obvious to most people. It's the kind of the perfect storm, of the place to hire folks from, because you're getting people who speak perfect English, or at least we do. We're getting folks who speak 10 out of 10 fluency in terms of English. And in terms of an accent, very minimal. We're talking like maybe a 2 out of 10 in terms of an accent. And, as people, well, maybe not everyone knows this, but like 1 out of 5 Americans is Latino. So obviously we don't really notice the accent at all. Like, even if there is one, we just don't really even notice it. Americans do have a tendency to hang up when they hear Indian, Pakistan, right? Those accents, they do have a tendency to hang up. So we just don't hire from those countries. I mean, they're cheaper, but you get what you pay for. So we hire from Latin America. Everyone's remote. And so it's extraordinarily cost effective and works very, very well when managed properly, which is what we do.